who do you think benefits by it not being taught? Because you would, for what it is you do, I would think that would be something you would learn in consumer ed of the utmost importance. Other than that, or who's benefiting by us not knowing that and just working till we're 65 or not being prepared for certain.
When you say us, what do you mean? You mean poor people?
I mean, me, you, even
Or
rich, because it's rich
okay,
people that don't.
Or, who benefits from that? I mean, the only people that really benefits are like car companies. I really like luxury good, but like people who make boats and stuff that the people who produce the things that people waste money on. You know what I mean? So like BMW and Lexus, those are the people who really benefit from people not knowing about how to manage their money correctly.
So there's street parking in. You want to talk your stuff?
I'm working on a platform. I'm gonna roll it out March 22nd here in that auditorium back there, and it's called The Psychology of a Good Nigga. And it's not a black and white thing. It's more of the word nigga means ignorant person. And it focuses on kind of what we're talking about, like the messages we've been receiving from government, corporations, how we look at finance, how we look at the handling of our lives in general in proportion to the messages that we receive. Somewhere, because to me, who benefits by us not knowing that, right, it's the corporation.
So I don't think it's a plan. I don't think anyone says, let's make sure they don't know. I think it's just like by not.
You think so? Not a plan?
Right. I don't think it's a plan to, let's make sure they're not educated on this subject matter.
I think the people who benefit got a lot more to lose than it being like happenstance.
Like who? So who do you think benefits from that?
The educational system benefits, government benefits.
How does the educational system benefit from that?
How do they not? Well, if you look at them if they were, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if you look at it in cahoots, like, all right, whatever signals that we receive to tell us we're supposed to go to school, learn another trade, irregardless to what we may want to do. Learn a trade, work till we're 65, and then be done. Like I don't remember too many classes about financial freedom. I don't remember too many. Now right now there's a very small, if you get an M.A.Y.A.n in business, you can take like entrepreneurship class or get a specialization there, but it's not too much as far as like honing whatever your own personal skill is and finding a way to monetize it. And you're kind of deterred from that by the messages in the media.
I mean, that's never been taught in school.
True, but I don't think that's just happenstance.
You don't think that's just happenstance? I mean, like the education. I mean, like for example, like geometry is still taught in school. Who uses geometry? No one cares what the hypotenuse. No one cares about Pythagorean theorem. But like the school system is so ingrained in their ways. It's like we've been doing this for the past 100 years, so let's just keep doing it. So I mean, like they don't have. I mean, I think that's why they're not changing. Like we still. I remember in high school reading Shakespeare. I mean, who cares? I mean, unless you're an Englishman, what is Shakespeare gonna do for me when I'm on a job? I don't know where art thou. I mean, I'm trying to push these papers around. I mean, like this is like a person on a regular job. There's so much stuff taught in school that no one really needs. In fact, I think in school you need algebra, you need first year English, and that's about it. And those are like everything else, like you really don't need.
I don't know, I think I would find more fault the fact that they're just teaching you to go to school, then get a job, regardless of the subjects they teach. Like,
right? Yeah.
I just think each person, and this is not even a M.A.Y.A.n thing. I just think each person got a particular set of skills.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But man, like the thing is, like people. I think that this, it's important for a person to teach that to themselves. You know what I mean?
I don't know, because then a person end up got to teaching themselves two different things. Like it ultimately comes around to like a lot of us aren't comfortable operating in this space. Like, but the proof is in the pudding that it's possible. There's so many jobs today that didn't even exist 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So for a person to feel like, all right, if I wanted to be a sidewalk graffiti artist, how can I make money at it? I think that should be taught. Not necessarily like a class on sidewalk graffiti, a class on whatever it is you want to learn, but like teaching people how to say like, all right, this is your idea, this is what you can do with it, this is how you might monetize it, this is how you might do that. So it don't got to be like particular classes on little mundane subjects, but classes on like how to cultivate whatever your true talent is. I think some is at work that we're not taught that, or like stuff like that is kind of kept on the back burner.
Right. I hear you. I don't think that's like a system working against that. I just think kind of the things have always been like that, so that's the way kind of things are now. Like, and the government officials aren't going to change that.
And I wouldn't, and even in saying that, I think the constraints that like people deal with are institutional, but I still wouldn't place the institutions at fault. I still think that falls on us. Like, right. It's on me that like, if let's say I was a truck driver, it's on me that I sit and be a truck driver for 30 years and just hate my job every day. That's on me that I don't do nothing about that. It's on me that like, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be a writer. I always wanted to write children's books. And I created excuse after excuse after excuse to not gonna do it. That's on me. So and like the platform that I'm working on, the psychology of a good nigga, it hits on those things. Explaining the title, explaining or shedding light some of the things that we're talking about right now that I think are in place. Ultimately coming back to us and like how we may be able to educate and come out of that. Everybody I talk to, when I tell them, like people from my old neighborhood, people that know me from before, I used to be afraid that like, all right, what people gonna say to me? I used to rap. You used to know me for being in the club, popping bottles, smoking weed, stuff like that. So I see people now like, hey, how you doing? What's up, bro, man? I'm speaking to people now. I'm life coaching. I'm writing. Like, and I used to be like, what they gonna think now? Like, they gonna buy it? And they're like, everybody like, you know what, man? That's cool, man. I always wanted to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. And I've heard it so much, like, well, why not? You know, and then like as you go further with people, it's just like, yeah, man, I would, man, but I'm gonna get back in school, or man, these kids, they getting on my nerves, da da da. And there's all these reasons where it's like, people, I know some amazing people, and I meet amazing people that would probably be capable of amazing things, and they get in their own way too, but they get a lot of help from everything that's around them. And I wanna bring all that stuff to light in hopes that like, I want people to walk out of the room feeling like, you know what, really ain't nothing stopping me but me. And psychology, well, physiology will always bypass psychology. And a lot of people letting psychology go out front, being what's going on up here. A lot of the things I've done, be it stupid or not, they just was like, all right, I'm gonna do something. I'm just gonna do this. And then I'm gonna see this meeting. I'm gonna start the meeting. I don't know, some days it might be just me and another person, but I'm gonna go do it.
Okay.
And I think physiology, the body, doing something always surpasses psychology. Like, cause if I would have overthought if I do it at Tuesday, 6 o'clock thing, I could have spent weeks trying to figure out what's the best day and time without ever actually having one. Now I got a better idea on how a meeting might be able to go and when I should plan one, but you got to do them. So I kind of want people to walk out feeling like that, but I do want to educate to like, all right, have you ever, or you take like those things, you said one meeting, you said, I'm hearing about a lot of jobs, but a lot of them be like those scare me type, come on in, those inside sales, outside sales things. You probably see a lot of that for like the type of work you're going for. But I always wonder, like, somebody could come up to a person and say, hey, you can get a job making $12 an hour doing this, come on. And we'll look at that like that's the greatest thing in the world. But then somebody come up to you and say, you can make $1,000 in a week. And we like, whoa, what's that? What it gotta be? What it gotta be? That gotta be some type of scam. Now 90% of the time it is a scam.
Right.
But all of us kind of preconditioned to like, you can't do that. I can't make that type of money in a week. What? I think stuff like that, in addition to like the thing I told you with the schools, where did that feeling come from? Have somebody come and say like, hey, you can take your own destiny in your own hands, make more money than you ever thought, and we get afraid of that, but we feel great when somebody say, hey, come make $13 an hour. We worth more than, every human being is worth more than $13 an hour.
Right. I think it's a thing of certainty. First of all, like I've heard all of me in my personal experience, I can't speak to everybody, but like I've heard a bunch of people say, yeah, you could take your destiny in your hands, you can make $1 billion if you work hard enough, and then, I go out and I try it, and usually it falls through for whatever reason. Like it's always some catch that, like for example, like the first time somebody came up to me for selling insurance, they, gave me obviously the original pitch. Yeah, you can make all this money, you can do this, you can do that, but okay, so all you got to do is sell insurance. I'm like, okay, I can sell insurance, so I just go up to people. It was like, yeah, but you start with your family. Now nobody in my family, can't nobody afford insurance or anything that this company is selling. And so I met somebody who was successful in it, and this dude, his family is like police officers. So he can talk to them, he can talk to their friends, and their friends are police. So so in order to be successful in this, you have to, the precondition, the catch is, you have to have people who can afford this stuff, right? So going back to what you're saying, why would someone say this is a scam? It's because of experiences like that. It's like when you get your hopes up for something and it falls through, that's a painful experience. It's not like you're gonna just get over that. It's like, oh, okay. It's like being in love with a girl. It's like, so you in love with this girl, and then you find out, she's sucking some dude off. That's gonna change the way you think about all girls. That's not gonna, and then when the next time you're in a relationship with a girl, and you're gonna think, you gonna always ask it's gonna always be in your mind, is this girl gonna do me like the last girl? You know what I mean?
So how much of it is just fear at work?
Fear? I don't know, man.
When you going through, like, using that same example for you, when you going through and like looking for jobs, like what type of things give you a red flag? Because I think in your sector, for what you do, you probably see stuff like that more than anybody. That's why I see it the most.
Like obviously the buzzword when these companies talk more about stuff that has nothing to do with the job than the actual job, that's what throws up red. So when I look at a job description, like usually a job description is, okay, you're gonna, create financial reports, you're gonna, reconcile accounts and do like that. Okay, so that's a normal job description, with tasks that, you want to do. Another job description is like take charge of your destiny, and be a leader and not a follower. This is in the job description. Like, okay, this is some nonsense.
What's odd about it though? All right, I was like, with us already knowing that like what 90% of that stuff is. What's odd about that though?
What's odd about it?
In the back of because I think in the back of our mind we all like. And like it's funny, like the more stuff I learned about, especially like with my coaching, like I got into it feeling like everything gotta be of integrity. But the more I educate myself, it make me want to distance myself to certain things because people are now teaching me the business of it. And like, okay, what do my clients want to feel? And being able to work with that as opposed to actually doing work. And it's like, if I was looking for a job, if I'm hard on my luck, even that's kind of what you kind of want something that'll make you feel like I want to take charge of my own destiny.
Exactly. Yeah, you do, and that's exactly why most of those are scams. Because the people who post those job descriptions, they know what people are going through. They know people are. Everybody wants to be a leader. Everybody. So when you see a description, only leaders should apply to this position. everybody's going to apply for that. You know? Like, no one's going to say, well, I'm not a leader. I'm not going to apply for this. You know? So, I mean, then once you go through that and then you notice, oh, this is some baloney, then...
But what about the people that end up successful at it? So who ultimately determines if it's a scam or not?
That's a good point. What about the people who... I mean, yeah, some people do end up successful at it, but what percentage of those people are successful, though?
So would you say it's a matter of it being a deceptive ad?
Yes, deceptive.
Well,
Think about everything involved. Think about, why is this person posting this ad? What is this person getting out of this? You know, like, this person wants me to work for them. You know, and they're not. So what? Why would this person? And when you get a job, so you're assuming they're giving you money. So why would this person give me money? Right?
But see, the only thing that's odd to me about that is, like, all right, going back to how we started this conversation, I think the same thing is at work when a person go to a university. I think the same thing is at work when a person get a job and they tell you, just because a person tell you up front you're gonna be making $10 an hour, that's all you got to do. In the framework of what a person realistically trying to do with their life, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing.
Yeah.
Like, or if you go to school and, like how you were saying, like, what do you need geometry for in, like, real life or like stuff like that. So to me, the same things are going on when they say, like, all right, you go to school for 4 years, these are the classes that you need to take to get your degree. To me, it's the same type of stuff at work.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, what's...
like the scam artist ads saying, that, like, okay, you could come.
Okay,
to me,
I see what
like,
you're saying.
you gonna take these classes, you being sold the dream that if I go take these classes, it's gonna allow me to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. The same way that ad is telling you, come do this, leaders only need not apply, create your own destiny.
Yeah.
That's the same type of story I think the universities are selling, but they don't tell you that, like, certain majors and things like that, you got to be of a certain type of, like your police officer friend, like you kind of know people, so that's a natural fit. It just goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Everybody not like that. The same way I like everybody, when I went to school, everybody got like a business degree. They ain't want to do nothing with business, or a computer degree. It's an IT degree or something like that. Criminal justice. Those were like the popular ones. They ain't really want to do it, but they feel like, all right, I can just go get a job doing that. So it's like, it's nothing really there for that person. It's just like funneling through a system. And nobody's like, hey, stop. You
Okay. Going to your thing, your psychology of a good nigga, like you saying, like, I think kind of, not only black people, everyone's kind of taught. Like, in fact, I wrote a paper about this. It's like, we don't think, you know? Man, like, just like we don't think. It's like when we see that ad, when someone sees that ad, you know, they're not thinking about, you know, all of the things that are going on there. They're not saying, what is this person getting out of it? I mean, they may say that in the back of their mind, but they're not consciously thinking about that.
Who's responsible for that, you think?
I think, in my personal opinion, I think every single person is responsible for their own life. But at the same time, I think there's kind of an assumption that, that we should be able to trust that. Like you were saying with the school, like if you take the school is saying, like if you take these classes, you'll be able to get this. I mean, really what the school is saying, if you take all these classes, we'll give you a degree. And with that degree, you should be able to get a good job. As we all know now, that's not true. But going back to what I was saying, a lot of people just don't go that extra mile and say, okay, is this actually true? You know, if I take all these classes and to get this degree, will I be able to get a good job?
I agree with you to a point where, like, it make me wonder, where's the root? Is it the person before they sign up for the class? Should they be told, like, okay, realistically?
I don't think no single person is responsible. I mean, I don't think there's a grand scheme of a lot of people up there saying, okay, how can we pull
then
this?
You just left with ignorance then of the person.
Right. I think every single person kind of does their own natural thing, and I think the current situation is just byproduct of everyone doing their own thing. Like, one thing I know, I know so many people who graduated from Iowa State with me, and like this girl today, she was so smart. You know, like she graduated and she's happy that she got a job as a waitress. You know, and then but she graduated with me from Iowa State in 2006, 2007, and she's happy to be a waitress. And she got out of college 7 years ago. You know, it's like, you know, come on, I mean, there's something wrong with this picture. I know, you know, when she was 5 years old, she didn't say, when I'm 30 years old, I want to be a waitress.
Yeah.
You know, but by her doing her own thing, this is the result that she came to. You know, I mean, and that's.
What would you tell yourself? All right, either two-part question. What would you tell yourself when you started school today? If you could now being able to, if you had the gift of retrospect, being able to see how things turned out, what would you tell yourself before you started school, and what would you tell yourself after you finished? Knowing now what you didn't know then.
Well, when I was starting school, I would tell myself to make sure that I focus more on.
Would you do it all over again the same way? Would you get the same major?
No, I mean, when I started school, I majored in computer engineering. So, and then I switched to business after.
What did that idea to major in computer engineering come from?
That's always wanted to make video games.
Oh.
So, I mean, that's always been what I wanted to do.
And what happened?
Like I started doing computer engineering. Like, first of all, that stuff I was playing football at the same time. So majoring in engineering and playing football, that's not a good combination at all. Other than that, like I couldn't see myself doing the things that I was doing, you know, for the next 40 years of my life. You know, I mean, which is so like writing code and, you know, kind of nitpicking through stuff. I couldn't see myself doing that.
See, that's odd to me because to me that seemed like something real. I expected when you said computer engineering, you would have been like, well, I heard you can make a lot of money at it. But like wanting to make video games is something real and tangible to me. And it's odd to me that you went away from it.
Right. But I mean, like the reason I switched my major, actually, have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad? Okay, it's a book about like how everybody should have a business. But so I read that book, and that made a lot of sense to me. How, like no matter what you do in life, you get, from a writer to a fruit picker or whatever. Everything comes down to business. You know, there's business in everything. So I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I would rather, that's why I switched my major to business, is I wanted to have my own business.
Now, when you switch your major to business, was there information at your disposal to help you? Or did you kind of have to figure it out on your own?
I mean, I took classes and I read books. You know?
I mean, like, all right.
Like, what type of information? What do you mean? Like,
all right, even I take I didn't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but that's the Kawasaki guy, right?
Yeah.
All right, his story. I know a little bit about his story. That like, all right, he was kind of like a screw up growing up, and then like it was this Rich Dad Poor Dad was like the dad down the street or something like that, right? They kind of like mentored him through.
I mean, it's a very his story is like very kind of theoretical. I think. I mean, like to be honest, I don't even think that what he was saying. I think he might have been telling some fiction, but pretty much what his story was his father worked real hard, and what he did is he went to work for the government, and he didn't make as much as his other dad, his friend's dad, and all his friend's dad did was start businesses and invest in companies, and he didn't do as much work, and so that's pretty much what that was all about.
Even in that though, like, all right, I think it's more to the fact that like how we condition to like we hear stuff like that. If you would have if we were taping this and noticed your body language, we went to like, all you do is just invest in businesses. You were kind of like, it's kind of like like it was a scam, like right off the top. I think
Right. I mean, it's just the story. I mean, like the story is like unbelievable. You know, it's like okay. I mean, it's like man, if it was that, he made it seem a little bit too easy. You know,
I think it is because simply like 95% of the planet is conditioned to say so the people that just weird enough to be like, you know what? I think I can do that. They go do it.
But the thing is, I was the dude that tried. I switched my major after reading that book. And my thought was, I want my own business. And I eventually started my own business.
So do you feel jaded towards that type of...
Cause I feel like, you know, all the information isn't there. I mean, like, you know, I mean, obviously, you can't really change your life off of one book. The point that I was trying, like, your question was, what would I tell myself? I would tell myself to focus on like building relationships with people because that's kind of, you know, what's going to be more important than even like I could have flunked out of school, but if I would have knew the right people, I would have been able to kind of do whatever I wanted to do. I would have been able to get a good job. I would have been able to start a business or whatever if I would have knew the right people.
I do got to rewind that. I think it's a nugget. Like, you know, you somebody that after kind of controlling their destiny at a certain point in time, as far as like what you did for a living, now you're making a conscious effort. I wouldn't say you want to go work for somebody else, but you kind of like, it seemed like you're more interested in, and I don't even know, because you say you kind of leaning back more towards the entrepreneurship side. I think you said that last meeting, but it seemed like when you first came in here, I thought like, man, this dude don't need to go work for somebody else. It's too much going for him. You the type of person I think is suited for like being working for yourself, entrepreneur. You seem like you got the chops for it, but it seemed like at that point you was like, I just want to get a job somewhere. Like you want to go back into that mix, and I don't get that.
Okay, all right. Well, let me say, first of all, working for yourself is so hard because you don't know when you're going to get paid. You know, so I mean, it's like, I don't know, and I'm getting kind of old now. I don't really have the energy to like deal with the stress of am I gonna have to eat ramen and peanut butter and jelly next week or for the next month because you know I can't get a client. So I mean, when you have a job, it's consistent. You know, you get a paycheck every 2 weeks, month, whatever. You know, so I mean, to be honest, it's a lot of reasons why. I mean, like I think at the start I was kind of really trying to get a job and stay out of the entrepreneurship world. Now I'm starting to really kind of, you know, get that desire back. But I mean, like it may be a little bit fear in there. Reasons why I'm leaning toward, you know, working for someone. So like fear, I want that consistency, and I don't know. It's just a lot. It's just unsure. I'm unsure if, you know, maybe do I even have the like what it takes to kind of be a successful entrepreneur in this new market. In this new market. Yeah. But I mean, like, but the thing, I wasn't successful though. You know, like my business went down.
Well, for the business you had, I don't think that was like you. It's not like you were the only business for what you were doing. It wasn't like your business was the only one. Like, it's a lot of business. Like, big, huge corporations went down at the time that your business went down. So how can you sit there and say that, like...
You're right.
Well, to me, I just position that against, you tried, in your eyes you failed. It may have just been a victim of circumstance, but even putting that against, like, you've seen the highs. Like, to me, what you're doing now kind of like is equating to like sticking yourself like back in the system.
Right,
like,
but also I don't have the resources. Like, I don't really have the resources to be an entrepreneur the way that, you know, I used to be or if I want to be. So, I mean, I need money somehow, you know.
But even now, like, the stuff you just said right now, that, like, you think like one. You think like the average person, I like, all right, yeah, I get what you're saying, but the resources that it would take for me to that's the mind of a boss to me. Like the average person, you could tell that to, they'd be like, entrepreneur, what? They want to go work for somebody. They cool with that. Like, to me, like,
do you think the average person does? I think everyone kind of wants to be obviously everyone wants to be their own boss. I don't think everyone has the chops for it. But.
True. Everybody, but I always wonder, even like with this platform, I wonder, I want to attack those ideals. Is that institutions? Is that the person? What can we do to offset that? I ultimately think those are the messages that we receive. They're like, it make us seem like we in the Matrix. Like only a few people can be aware of the fact that we're not living in the real world. Everybody else needs to stay in the system.
I agree 100% we're in the Matrix. There's definitely like kind of, I mean, there's pressure and emotions and kind of what we see is really kind of off from reality. Like I said, people don't really, like I don't know, like in this paper that I wrote, like back some time ago, like kind of what I said was, like this dude named, I forgot his name, he said this quote, it was like, people would rather die than think. And the thing is, most people do end up dying rather than thinking. So what that means is like people kind of go through and when they're trying to look for answers, they don't use their brain and say, let me think out a solution. They say, let me look at what someone else has done and let me do the same thing. So, or if they do think about the solution, they say, okay, this person did this and this was the result. And this person did this and this was the result. They don't say, this person did this, this was the result. Why was this the result? What contributed to that? What are the factors? Okay, so this other person over here did that, and he got a different result. He did the same thing that this person did over here, but he got a different result. Why are the results different? Oh, it's because of this factor here. Okay, so now knowing all of this, they don't do that type of analysis and then say, okay, so with this, then my plan is to do, my own special thing. Instead, what they do is they say, okay, since this person did this and they got this result, I'm going to do what that person did. So like when people are thinking about what should I do for money, they don't say, okay, Donald Trump, he started his own business. This other person started their own business, and this person started their own business. Okay, so and they're all billionaires or whatever. They say, okay, well, yeah, Donald Trump started his own business, but his father was a millionaire or something like that, so I can't do that. Are you following what I'm saying? Like kind of
But it seems like you're saying they pick out parts that make it not make sense to them.
They pick out parts to make it not make sense.
All right, look at what you just said. Like, yeah, Donald Trump is a billionaire. He started his own business, but his father was a millionaire. So, like as if it's like they discredit it, even though to me it makes perfect sense.
Right.
I think.
The thing is, most people don't even think that. When people, one problem is that when people think about when it comes to their lives, people think about it for a total of probably 3 minutes. They don't sit down at a table and with a pad and say, what do I want to do?
All right, so take that idea, and that always bring me back to the school. Why wouldn't that be something? College and school is supposed to prepare you for life. Why wouldn't that be something that you learn in school? If not at school, why wouldn't your parents sit you down? My parents didn't do that. My mother didn't do that, nor my father. Didn't say like, all right, you got one life to live. To me, it's as simple as asking somebody, what do you want on your tombstone? Mm-hmm. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want it to be? To me, we can make it seem philosophical because I think it's not given any time of day. But I think what we're talking about is not philosophical. It's not that deep. We got one chance at this. What you
I agree. I agree. It's not that deep. But the thing is, most people don't sit down and have these.
But what's that? Again, that brings back to my whole. What you think is at the root of that? Is it the schools? Is it the parents then? Is it what we're taught? Is it what we see on TV? Like how you say.
It's just they don't. I don't think there's a reason for it. It's like, why don't tigers fly? They just don't. Like that's. It's not kind of what we're conditioned to do. Like I said, we're in the Matrix. If we're not conditioned to do, chances are, if someone isn't conditioned to do something, they're not going to do it.
So who benefits from? I think, but if I agree, I think you just said it. Like everything comes down to business. Somebody's benefiting off that.
Somebody once said, it was like, if you don't have a plan for your life, somebody else does.
True.
So, like for example, when you go in Target, And like what I've kind of gotten used to doing was I make a list now. I go get what I want and get out. But I remember the first time I went to Walmart when I was in college. I think I went to get some paper, and I walked out with like $400 worth of stuff. I had like a TV, like an Xbox, I had a bunch of games. I had I don't know, a whole bunch of stuff. And why was that? Why did I have this? I didn't go into Walmart thinking to get all this stuff. But one thing that I learned in retail, I know it's a little bit off the subject. One thing that I learned in like retail management is the store is designed that way. The store is designed so that when you're walking around, you're gonna see something that you didn't intend to get, but you're gonna get it anyway. That's how Target is, set up. That's how Walmart is set up. And that's the way life is set up. Life is set up in a way that if you don't know exactly what you want and you don't go after exactly what you want, you're going to, be bombarded by all type of different things. And the thing is, most people have no idea. People don't have, convictions that are strong enough for them to go straight after anything. And plus, there's so much, there's so much news and so much, random trivia that, people are never gonna, and that's I think that it's very hard to sit down and do the work that it takes to figure out your life. So, a lot of it, to answer your question, why don't people do it? I think it's, procrastination. Personal procrastination.
But look what we're talking about. Like, it's hard. It is hard. I agree with you. It's hard to do. But look at what we're talking about. Your life. As opposed to what? Like sitting there just going through the motions. Which is kind of like your alternative. Like, instead of you either sit down and say, okay. You either sit down and say, this is what I want to do. It's going to take a lot of work, but this is what I want to do. Or I can just kind of willy-nilly my way through it. Like, it is hard, and I agree with you, but, like, that thought that, like, the fact that we give ourselves an alternative to actually doing that is amazing to me. It's amazing. Like, and I'm living proof that, like, because for a while, I lived my life with, like, I felt like I was talented enough, and I proved it time and time again that, like, in college, I didn't buy books. I just went to class. If you pay attention enough, you'll pass. Because it's set up that way where, like, you could really be a moron and go through college if you just sit there and pay attention.
I guess it depends on what your major is.
All right, well, my major was theater, so that did help. It helped some. But, like, I didn't buy books. I would just go to class. And in a lot of things in life, I just BS my way through because I'm somewhat intuitive, somewhat intelligent. Well, like, I got a pretty good gift of inference. Like, I can say, like, this has to be this if this is this. And,
right.
Things kind of make sense. But in saying that, like, the alternative that we give ourselves, or what the reality of what the alternative is, if we don't take that time with our life, that sucks. So, like, to me, the more we talk about it, the more, like, it becomes, we can get deeper into it, but it makes itself more black and white.
Right. But the thing is, does it suck? Think about a pretty white girl. Does she really have to figure out her life? Because if she doesn't, someone's going to take care of her.
True, but to me, those are the people that, like, when we first sat in this meeting, and me and you sitting across from Art and Suha, and we like these doctors and lawyers. To me, that's that line of thinking. They're like, they feel like they can just go be this and they'll be okay. It don't work that way. You still end up, like, you can't escape your true heart's desire. Most people know when they BS, they going through the motions, so on and so forth. You can't escape that. You can look good in the daytime. Like, me and you would both walk downtown and we'd be like, that person look like he got it made. That person look like he got it made. And at night, they online looking for stuff like this. So I think, like, you can, but you can't. The eye in the sky don't, my football coach used to say this, the eye in the sky don't lie. He wasn't talking about God, he was talking about, like, the camera how they record practice. Like, and I believe that to this day, the eye in the sky don't lie. Right. Like, and I think that applies to our lives. Like, yeah, I can go get a job and I can make $100,000 a year, but if that ain't what I'm really about, it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out. So even if you sacrifice some money at a certain point in time, I think it's worth more to be able to sleep at night. Like right now, I make next to nothing, but I go to bed happy. I know that I affect people's lives in a particular way. I can't live the way I used to live, but I feel better now. And I think that's worth more. But I don't even think people like seek that out. They try to like put things in front of it. All right, if I make this, I'm cool. If I got this car, I'm all right. Yeah, I could just get. They try. It's like what alcohol do. It let you pass the time for a little while. But eventually, who you are always gonna like come out. Yeah. But it always made me wonder, like.
Sorry, that sound is the boiler alert that the pipes might freeze. So we called the building manager. It's not nothing to worry about. It's just gonna be annoying. We did call, so hopefully it'll turn off soon.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. But I'm hard pressed to believe. Like, if me and you sitting here having this conversation, I'm hard pressed to believe that, like, say the board at Target, the board at what's another? Like, when we started this conversation, you was like, these big corporations that provide things that we do with our discretionary income, they benefit. I think it would hurt them if the conversation we were having was on TV right now. I think that'd mess them up. I think the conversation.
People listen, yeah.
Or what we were talking about in school, like it wouldn't cause people not to go to school, but I think it might cause people to pay attention to like, okay, if I'm gonna go to your school, this is what I want to learn.
But I mean, like no school teaches like these this stuff. The stuff that we're talking about is more. This isn't stuff you can learn in school. You know.
I don't know. I think I think you can learn it in school, but like they give it names that make you think it don't make sense. This is either an entrepreneurship course type stuff, which I don't even think they really talk about there.
No,
maybe
like,
a
have you ever
philosophy.
took an entrepreneur class before? What you learn in an entrepreneur class is how to write a business plan, how to I don't know, and like things like how to write a market research, how to do market research. What is like mezzanine funding, types of ways to raise capital. Yeah, of course it's valuable, but I think what we're talking about is more like emotional intelligence and like awareness of yourself. It's like self. Like, do you know who you are? Do you know where you are? Like, do you know who? Like, what I'm saying? Are you anchored to the earth? Or are you plugged into the matrix? Like what we're talking about is more kind of taking control of your life a little bit more. We're not talking about like how to write a market research.
Which one you think was more valuable? Like,
it
not even
depends on what you want. Like, what are you really going for? What do you really need?
This is. You seen the movie Zoolander? With Ben Stiller, it's about male models. And Will Ferrell in there.
Yeah, I saw it. It was a while ago.
Ben Stiller, like, he a male model, he real famous, but he do the same look. And after a while, Will Ferrell character like, does anybody get it? It's the same look. I feel like I'm on crazy pills. Like, the conversation we're having, it like, to me, the more we start to uncover, and it's like, I value your input. The more we start to uncover, the more it become more baseline. It become more. It should be the first thing people talk about, as opposed to like the fifth thing, or like.
Right. I think another thing that we might be like, the fact that we like are aware of this, it doesn't mean everyone is aware of it.
So then, does that place onus on us to make sure that they're aware, or does that place onus? Or would that place onus on the people that like really could affect it? Like maybe an educational institution or a large corporation or the government.
Educational institution really? the stuff that we're talking about has been around for years.
But it's always been backroom stuff. I don't think it's ever been in the main. Like, I get what you're saying.
Right. It's never been in the classroom, and I don't think it ever will be.
But to me, I feel the same way about geometry. Like you say, what do I need to know about like the area of a triangle for? But I get it if you explain it to me.
Yeah.
Like the same way, like to some people.
I agree. This stuff is really important, and it's not taught in school. But it never. I mean, should it be taught in school? Yeah. I think this is more important than anything that. Like I always tell everyone that the class that I learned the most out of in high school and in college was football. You know, because in football you learn how to you learn patience. You learn how you learn kind of this type of stuff,
Real life stuff.
Yeah.
Not only like learning lecture setting, but learning application.
Right.
Getting to see it work and what it do for you. I agree.
Yeah. You don't. I mean, like you're not gonna learn or like I don't know.
I went to the military right after high school, and I don't know if it was my mother the way she raised us, but I think it was a lot of football. Like, and it was a sense. I felt like I was living at football camp. Like, cause the way they go about things, how basic training is kind of like 2-a-days when the season first start. And then, but like, as far as learning the coaches, learning the hierarchy, learning how things work, learning morale, things like that, it all felt easy after being there, going through football for 4 years in high school. And I think I like the military, but what I take from it ain't what everybody else take from it. What I like from it, what I took from it is that like at 18, it was the best thing that I could ever do to just get out of my neighborhood and see that there's more. Not saying that I took advantage of it, but just see that there's more.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, it ain't just go to community college, get a job, blah, blah, blah. I got a chance. I spent a year and a half in South Korea. So just, and I ended up coming back and going right back to school. But like, what I always take from that is that like, it let me know that there's more. Because I came back and I finished college. I finished college. I went to the Army for 2 years. And I came back and got my degree in 3 years. And I still ended up finishing school quicker than some of the people that like went straight to college. Because they kind of like, you know, at college, you can just get in there sometimes and just live there for a while.
Right.
But, like, I agree. Football, more real-world application than a lot of the things that I learned.
Yeah.
Period. Point blank, period. Right. In school.
And like, yeah, you know, I mean, like when you play in sports or even playing a musical instrument, you learn that you get better with practice. You learn things like, I don't know, or like the fact that even if you are better than the other person, you don't win all the time, you know.
Do you think it's a correlation? All right, now going into, I done hit you on the educational, then onto the big corporation, then into the government sense. Do you think the stuff that we're talking about has anything to do with the fact that we're in a capitalistic system where it's like it is kind of every man for himself, go do what you want to do, in terms of thinking who has the most to gain from the quote unquote ignorance? Like, do you think it would be this way?
No, because every educational institution is similar to the United States. Other countries do a little bit
government-wise.
better.
Well, like, do you think the conversation we'll be having would be a tougher sell in, say, a socialist government where everything is kind of like centralized? Because to me, I think it's something to be said, the fact that like we live in a country where like you literally can't go make your own living. And the people,
I see what you're saying.
The people large enough to make the 1%, they would lose if this conversation we were having would be in broadcast. Ultimately,
I don't think the 1% will lose out even if this was broadcast because, I mean...
To me, the conversation we having is Obama's agenda. The middle class is not going to get better just by like pumping money and making sure... Creating more jobs is not going to enhance the middle class. Awareness on like how to take more control of your destiny, to me, is going to enhance the middle class. Like, if me and you could walk out of here and say like, man, we both got a job paying $55,000 a year. That's okay. It ain't bad. We won't kill, but we'll be able to do all right. We probably could go on vacation whenever we wanted to. But if we really want to leave it, like what they say, you give a man fish, you'll be okay, but you teach a man how to fish.
Right. I got that.
And I think this conversation, the only positive result off this type of conversation is somebody walking out of a room like knowing how to fish. Not even saying that we could teach them how to run a business, but teach them to be aware. And I'm not even saying, because I agree with you too, it takes more work to be self-employed than to do the work for another company.
Right. I think what we're talking about is more, it's not necessarily technically, you know, are these, like, what are, like, how to run a business. It's more of the emotional thing. Like, how you, like, the fact that you should be proactive enough to ask yourself the question, like, why am I doing this? You know, like, so you were asking me why are you looking for jobs the way that you are? You know, like most people like wouldn't even ask that question. You know, like they just kind of do what they do because that's what they're supposed to be doing. They go through life kind of just going through the motions. They don't really. There's no. I don't know a good word. There's no oomph behind their life. You know what I mean? Like, so they don't have any purpose. They're just kind of drifting through. They're that person. They're like me. First time I went to Walmart. You know, they're just going through and.
That makes life impersonal though. That makes life impersonal. I was watching Men in Black, the first Men in Black, and like Tommy Lee Jones was explaining to Will Smith about Will Smith had shot the big gun out in public. He said, "You never shoot the gun in public." He was like, "Man," Will Smith said, "We ain't got time for all this policy bullshit." And Tommy Lee Jones slowed him down. He said, like, basically the gist of it was like a group of people, they can't handle this type of information. But like if you be able to sit down and talk to somebody one-on-one, it'll make sense. But like what we talking about make the world like real impersonal. Like you say, not having oomph. Like
how many, I mean, in your opinion, how many people, what percentage of Americans do you think live with a purpose other than making the most money possible?
No, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's something wrong with the fact that like if that is your goal, and I would say 99%, if that is your goal, I think what I'm talking about and what we're talking about is like we hustling backwards. You're not getting from point A to point B faster. Like getting from point A to point B to me don't encompass going to an institution, learning nothing that don't really teach you about what it is you need to learn. Or going to work for somebody that you just taking incremental steps when you can take exponential steps if you are willing to sacrifice and learn what you probably need to learn. But like you say, you got to seek that out. And I do think it's somebody winning by the fact that, all right, we don't got the wherewithal and notice that like, all right, if I really want to make the most that I possibly can, I'm not doing that if I'm lying in somebody else's pocket. Or even having a big picture to say that like, all right, if I'm going to make 25 grand here, but my plan is to be a millionaire, somewhere down the line, like people don't look at how. How is that going to happen doing what a person is doing? It's like it's people right now that make 40 grand a year and their goal is to be a millionaire, make as much money as they possibly can. But they don't think that like, all right, if you make 40 grand a year, maybe 12 grand come out in taxes, your living expenses are maybe another like 15. If you wanted to, you could probably save 10, but you won't do that. But if you did do that, saving 10 grand a year ain't going to get you to your goal. But it's people that they don't, we as a people, we don't focus on the fact that like, we focus on the destination. We don't focus on the journey. Like, we focus on the fact that like, what we want, like we want that car, but we don't fall in love with the process of being great. We just see ourselves in the picture with the top down, and we see ourselves going down the coast. We don't see ourselves, okay, this week I'm going to cut back on this. This week I'm going to take my money, instead of just saving it, I'm going to let my money work for me. This week I'm going to do this. I'm going to take that money, boom, 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 boom. We don't look at that part. We just look at the end result. And I think that's what's like missing. This whole conversation come back to like you say, emotional, and I like that word. I'm going to steal that. Emotional intelligence. But it's like there's so many things that it come back to what you say. 99% of the people dream about being rich. But they look at it just from a destination standpoint as opposed to the actual journey, what it actually takes to be rich. I know a lot of people that want to be rich and they think like, if I get a second job, that'll do it. No, to me that's the most asinine thought in the world. You work a $10 an hour job and you want to get rich, so your plan is to get a $9 an hour job to go with it. So now you spend 16 hours of your day and you're probably going to take home, what, about $70, $80, like after taxes and everything. Like, come on, man. That can't be, you do the math on that. How long do you think it's going to take you to get to $1 million at that point? And that's then having to deal with all the messages you see. Maybe I want to go out this weekend. Maybe I want to go do this. We still got to get past the fact that we just natural consumers. Yeah. So there's so much stuff in the way that like after a while we just like hustling backwards from what it is if what we really all want to do is be rich. And I think I do think it's more work than like me and you can have a conversation about it, but I don't think the big corporations, I don't think the people at these schools, I don't think the people in the government that benefit from this, I don't think they leave it to chance. I think they make sure that we stay. I think they make. I ain't gonna say they make sure, but they not think they get it. The same way me and you come and they get it. So I don't think they sitting there like, all right, our livelihood is based on them continuing to think that way. So,
but I think it's also I think it's also human nature and human emotions. I mean, think about like corporations. Their executives or people who work for them. They're going over and beyond to make sure that this company is making the most money that they possibly can. And they're taking those extra steps. And all of these corporations are ran by people. What if 10 of those people if 10 of those people got together and decide, okay, let's start our own business, it can destroy that corporation. Probably, maybe. And those 10 people would make way more money. But they're not going to do that because, there's a lot more stuff involved. You still have the risk. So...
To me, that it's just like to me, and I guess this is important to me because I am passionate about the subject. To me, it's more risk in not doing nothing, and not doing it.
More risk in not doing nothing.
Like you end up. To me, what I'm afraid of is being 65 one day, no matter how much money I got, but feeling like I left some on the table. That scares me more than how much money I got, what woman I end up with. Feeling like I'm about to be 33 in a few weeks. And it's already starting to creep in like, damn, man, I wasted pretty much my whole 20s. I wasted all of it. And I didn't really waste it. I got a lot of experience to show for it, but like for what my goals are, man, there's so much stuff I could have been doing. I feel like I wasted, the things that I didn't try. Like, because I wanted to get into real estate around the time when you were in real estate, but I didn't. I had a good job. It was cushy. I didn't want to. Even though the idea of being rich was important to me, it obviously wasn't that important because I stayed in my little incubator, which was my job, and didn't really, it's going to take too much work to do that.
I see what you're saying. But it's still, and you may just not be realizing there may have been some other stuff going on. You might have thought about, I should get in there, but it's a lot of risk. It's like, how much time would I have to spend doing this? How much money would I have to spend on that? I can't spend time with my girl. You got kids, right? That's another constraint. So not only you got to work a full-time job, you got to take care of your kids. But you need that income for your kids, not only for you, but for your kids. And it's a lot of time and effort you have to put toward them.
But I think that time goes somewhere. Because if I was using myself in that same example, I didn't follow through with it. But there's certain things that I always made time for. My kids being included, but I always made time to make sure I kicked it on the weekends. Mm-hmm. I always made time to make sure when I wanted a nightcap, which was often, I always made sure that happened. I always made sure that I did what was necessary to make sure I was in the mix. Mm-hmm. I always did that. So to me, I call what I do now, I don't call it, a lot of people want to say, man, you changed. I'm like, no, I just feel like I use my powers for good now. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just doing it differently. I make time for what I want to make time for. I've just changed what I want to make time for.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's the things that you say, and it's like we could go on for hours, but the further we go, to me the stuff it solidifies it. And I've been having this conversation with random people about what I would like to do. Cause I like to bounce it off people to play devil's advocate because I don't want to get blinded by what I might think may be obvious, and people have been hitting me with a lot of interesting insight, like how you have been tonight. But going back to how you started, man, I went to church, and you said you went to church, and and it felt like the guy was talking to you.
No, he was talking.
He was talking to you.
Yeah.
But the subject matter, that's kind of how I feel. You make perfect sense, but it may. What I'm feeling right now started out as an idea. The more people I bounce it off of, it make it crystal clear, even though you aren't per se agreeing with me, it still make what I feel a little bit more crystal, hearing it, how it bounces off your intellect. It makes it make more sense, because I've been bouncing off people that I wanted to play devil's advocate. I want to be okay, Marcus, I don't know if that kind of makes sense to me, or people that I trust that are smart enough to get what it is, where it is I may be going with it, because I want to make sure that I'm not the title going to throw people off, and it has nothing to do with that, but I think that's a good and bad thing. But B, I think that give me a lot more pressure to make sure there's a message there, something that actually makes sense. Because people gonna walk in with expectations based on the title, and it's my job to make sure they walk out with something.
Right. I think, like the biggest piece of advice, like, I don't know what you, but like, the message that I would say that I would think you would want to communicate is like, even though we all have natural like desires or emotions, things that push us to do certain things, we have to be proactive and see if we're going to live a life of purpose, and if we're going to take some control over how our life is going to end up, how people look at us, it's going to take a lot of proactive thought, effort, and action, to kind of do that.
If I could summarize you, would it be safe to say that you believe that onus don't rest with the individual?
I think it rests with a group, because let's say black people, for example, like in the media, black people have a bad rap. Kind of everyone thinks that we're thugs. Like in Florida, you could shoot a black boy and not go to jail. You can't shoot nobody else and not go to jail because they think, oh, it's just some nigga, who cares about him,
I don't know, I think we wear that for some reason. Whether good or bad, we wear it.
Right, but I think like the fact that we're kind of not on the same page with that. Like, why do those kids act like that?
I think it's one of those. I sit and talk to my mother. She got like some kids that live across the street, and it's like they all over there hustling. They selling drugs out their house. So it's like, but I be trying to tell her, like, she be like, just look at them. I should do this. I should do that. I should do that. I be like, everybody over there, it's obvious what's happening, but everybody over there not doing that. You know what I'm saying? To me, it seemed like she forget what it was like when she was. You remember when we were young? Sometimes we would just stand on the corner, even though we obviously knew people that may have been selling drugs, but everybody wasn't. But we would just sometimes stand on the corner and we'd just be sitting there being young.
Yeah, showing out. Yeah.
And it's just like, but if we always had somebody walking around us looking at us like that, after a while you're gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna give you something to look at, because you kind of, I think people can feel that energy. Whether you can walk past me and not say nothing, but if you just walking past and you looking, you kind of got that look. That'll make me feel like
right again, and that's another emotion. Like people that when people look at us like that makes us want to be bad, right? But what if we, instead of acting bad, we did something positive? Then it's like, okay, I run a hedge fund.
I think like you said, take education and time.
It takes effort and emotional intelligence.
But again, I think that's all the more reason why it's important to something that's as important to what we talk about. It shouldn't be left to chance. I don't think it's being left to chance. Honestly, I don't think it's being left to chance by the people that benefit from it, but by me and you recognizing that, like, all right, that may come on the individual. That's something that's too important to be there. Like, I hope so and so gets it. It's too important for that. That's something that's parents should teach, teachers should teach, schools should teach. Should be like an ideal of a government.
To be honest with you, I agree with you 100%. It is too important to be left to chance. But the problem and what's dangerous is that there's so many people that have no idea, that have never even had a conversation with themselves about what is my life about, That's why I think, there's a lot of problems in this world comes from that. I'm kind of going off the subject on my soapbox a little bit. That's why I think Fox News is so popular, because so many people, and no black person watches Fox News, but so many people don't have any clue about what real is, that they're going to watch a channel that's kind of going to tell them what they want to hear. That's why a lot of women, fall for wrong dudes, because they're going to go for dudes that either represent something that they want to see, or is going to tell them something that they want to hear. So, like, in chances are what they want to hear is not going to be anywhere near the truth. You know what I mean? Are you understanding what I'm saying? I know I'm probably sound retarded or whatever.
No, it don't sound retarded.
Like it's dangerous, the fact that it's so important that as a person, as a human being, it's important for us to know what our purpose is, what we need to go after. But so many people are not even going to ask themselves that question. You know, they're not even going to talk about it. When they're not going to talk about it with another person. You know, so maybe some people who go to church, you know, they assume that their, you know, mission in life is Jesus, and that's good. But
I even think that can be misused and mishandled.
Of course, I mean, of course, it can be misused. But I mean, I don't know.
I think that's an example. I think that's if my one example was how do schools treat things or how do the government. I think religion is another one. It's an example of what we're talking about. My relationship with God got real cool when either he told me or I figured out that like my relationship with him is mine. It's not what happens at church. It's not what the preacher tells me. I can talk to him on my own. And I think that's God's biggest gift to us, is that like I don't got to go through you to talk to him. I don't got to go through my preacher to talk to him. I can talk to him when I want to talk to him. And like how you say, the same way it is in society, like people, or the woman, they hear what they want to hear. People, they use religion as a scapegoat, or they use it to they use God to kind of find purpose for their life. When God's greatest gift to us is that we can do whatever we want to do. Still have a relationship with him, create a life of our own design, and hopefully spend eternity with him.
Right.
He gave us the best deal ever. He gave us whatever ability we got. You have an ability, I have an ability. He gave us this life to kind of figure it out, figure out him, figure out what we want to do with it. And if all goes well, we monetize it, we lead a good life, we have offspring, and then after that, after he blessed us with life, he gave us skills, he helped us live a good life here, then we can spend eternity with him. I think that's a good deal. But like even something with that, people look, you got to explore that. The same way that we talk about you got to explore emotional intelligence, you got to explore that. That can't just be somewhere it's like, here, if you want to lead a good life, we need to go to church Sunday, and you need to do this, that, and the other.
Right.
People do that. That's asinine to me.
Yeah.
That's the same way as somebody coming up to me saying, if you want to lead a good life and get a good job, you got to learn geometry. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. You know, like, I don't know. I guess like people like to keep things simple. You know, I guess if I can find it, I want to get you a copy of it. It's an academic paper and it wasn't well written, so it's really technical. Yeah, I'm thinking about maybe I'll like clean it up a little bit and start a blog or something. But like what I was saying in that paper was that like people in general, they want to expend the least amount of energy as possible to come up with a solution. So they like to keep things as simple as they can. So like, I don't know if you know too much about like the history of the church, but like back in the day, like when like people used to, like when the world was, or like when Rome became a theocracy and Rome was ran by Christians, they used to kill people who weren't Christians. And if you were a Christian, and let's say if a woman wore pants to church, she would be like, killed or something like that. You know what I mean? That's the type of crazy, like just because a woman wears, and even my grandma's like 73, 74 years old. If she sees a woman wear pants to church, she immediately assumes that woman is something wrong. Oh, she's a skank. She's a slut. So I'm like, because that's people want to like to make those quick decisions. Like mainstream America, when they see a black dude, like, yeah, he's probably a thug. This dude could be a PhD in physics or something. Because people don't like to think. People don't like to process. They like to make decisions quick.
I think it's deeper than that. I think it's like in that lack of emotional intelligence, we try to latch on to something that we can't comprehend. So instead of, you see that guy in mainstream America, that guy walking down the street. I don't think it's always that we want to judge them or we feel like they got negative intent. But it's like you say, having that conversation, labeling him, is a lot quicker and a lot easier to have if you don't have the wherewithal to have like more significant conversations. Like I done been sitting there talking to somebody, like you've even been talking to me, you was like, man, and you'll catch yourself because you feel like what you're talking about, like I know I'm on my soapbox, but like I get what you're talking about. There's certain people that you would be talking to and like you might be over their head. Well, like I'll give you another example. I'll sit there and I'll watch a game with my mother or my grandmother. I live with my grandmother. And like sometimes for us just to spend time, she'll come and she'll sit and watch a game with me. And we'll be watching it, and I'm thinking like, all right, the other team making a run, or, you know, we being out rebounded, so and so in the paint. And she'll just say, will you look at his shorts? And that's where she goes, because she probably can't comprehend the game. Yeah. So she latches on to what she can comprehend, how he looks, what's going on. I think that happens more with things, or like how people are labeled. The conversation that we having, some people will get it to a point where like, you will have to deal with people having 50 different opinions. But then the other side of that is that like, people that don't get it, they would rather say, what the niggas doing in the back of that room? Like, they ain't even got to have them type of thoughts, but like, that's just a thought process that they can comprehend. Right. As opposed to having an emotional intelligence conversation. Right. And I mean, and then like you say, it is a little bit, I mean, look at politics. Like, there can never be an honest politician. I mean, look, we have pretty much, our whole entire Congress is just a room full of dumbasses. They can't get anything done. But everyone voted for them like they were the most competent people. Why? Because, I mean, like, people don't necessarily look at how good is this person going to do in that job. This person is going off of what is this person saying. What is this person going to promise me? I can run for office if I say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure it doesn't rain. I'm going to make sure that everybody makes $1 million a year and you only have to work 30 hours a week and we're going to have no pollution. If I run and say this nonsense, I'll be elected to Congress. You know? And then I'll be one of these dumbasses who can't get anything done. All I have to do is get it, or if I'm in a Christian town, so if I'm in somewhere in Kentucky or something, if I say, yeah, we need to bring Jesus into Congress, and Jesus this, and Jesus that, and, you know, I'm not saying nothing about how I'm going to do, what I'm going to do policy-wise. All I have to say is the Lord is with me, and I love Jesus, and we need God. I'll be elected to Congress. I haven't said anything about what can I do in Congress. You know, and and people, and the thing is, we are voting for these people. I mean, and this is the criteria that we're voting on. I'm not trying to make no jokes, but that's exactly, no, it's true. That's exactly what we're electing our politicians on. We're not electing politicians based on how competent is this person. If an honest politician actually ran, he wouldn't get any votes. It was like, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to cut back on spending, and we need to raise taxes. They'd be like, get the fuck out of here before we kill you. I think that's a reflection on. I think ultimately that's a reflection on that. Like, exactly. I mean, that kind of tells you something about people. I mean, the fact that Fox News is the most popular news channel. By far. I mean, like, Fox News, I'm dead serious. Fox News is by far the most watched news channel. And the fact that it's considered a news channel is beyond me. Because they spit more fiction than The Onion or something. They should be categorized with, like, one of them funny papers. It's like a comic book or something. The nonsense they be talking about. Oh, but the fact that, first of all, they're considered a news station. And people act like what Fox News say is gospel. And it's like, are you kidding me? And the fact that people aren't smart enough to understand that
I mean, it's really scary. It's like, who are you? I mean, this is who you're listening to get your news? It's like, man. I mean, and people in general, I mean, they're just, first of all, they don't, I mean, one thing that I've learned is that people do not like to think. You know, period.
Well, what do you think? All right. We probably all would agree there's a problem. What do you think stimulates thought?
Problems.
Problems? Okay.
So, like, when you're faced with an issue, you don't have no choice but to think
about it. So maybe making it clear that there's a problem. Cause like I don't want to. I think I could pack a house if I just want to sit and talk about what I thought the problem was for an hour. But my beef with my industry is that like they spend so much time motivating, so on and so forth, that they don't instruct.
Right. Right. I mean, it's like in a sense, you have to mix some of what people have to want to hear with the actual truth. But it's just, man, it's tough. I mean, like as a.
But I think if I don't know. I think my brother he does art, and he did a gallery opening around the block, and so he did a Q&A, and somebody said to him made a lot of sense to me, and it applies to me as well. He's like, he's not trained in art, like go to art school. He's just good at art to a point where like do his own paintings, he do galleries and things like that. And somebody said, do you think the fact that you're not like a traditionally trained artist has helped you, because for you there are no boundaries? And he said, yeah, but I feel the same way. I literally woke up one day, said like, you know what, in my life, in my experiences, the way that I can make my best effect is to speak and to coach and do things like that. So I literally woke up one day and said, this is what I'm gonna do, and then I went and made it happen. So I don't have all the constraints that other people have. They're like people that went to life coaching school and they've been speaking for 20 years. I don't get that. I got that like, all right, I see, this is what I see, this is what it makes sense, I'm gonna go do it. So like, I got that like, all right, I need to make sure that people there and they get this out of it, but there's still a part of me that's like, all right, I'm not gonna make this into algebra, because I don't think it's algebra. I'm not gonna try to turn it into it. That's why I was telling you about Refuge. I need something where I can kind of still, I'm not looking at it for money, because if I needed to make a lot of money with it, I would have to. But like right now, I got that space rented back there, it's already rented. So if somebody, the people that come, I'm not obligated to make sure I cover. It's already paid for. I can do it. So like I take that seriously. Like I want to pack the room and I want it to do well, but I don't want to sacrifice content
or authenticity.
Yeah, because I could, like you say, like I think if we just talked about the problems and pointed stuff out, it'd go great. But like giving people. To me, it all equates to like somewhere at a certain point in time, somebody was telling people that the world was flat and they just bought it. Yeah. And then the next day, somebody told them that the world was round and they just bought it. So I got a choice to go tell them that like the world was flat and now it's round. And this is why. Yeah. And I think the fact that I am as skeptical about what it is that I think my profession entails is going to make me say it in 2 + 2 manner. Equals 4, because that's the only way I understand things.
I got you. The thing about business, though, like, I mean, there's definitely a trade-off between, like, should I tell the truth or should I tell something that's going to make money?
It's language, though. I think all that is just it's just a play on language.
I don't know. People really just like to hear what they want to hear. For example, like, I'm going to tell you, like, this author that, this dude is funny. He writes books about dating and stuff. He wrote a book about dudes dating. It was like a bestseller. Everybody listened to him. But then when he was about to write one for women, he was like, this publisher offered him a lot of money to write the book. But he was like, when he wrote his original thing, he was like, the publisher told him, all right, this book is going to be for black women. So what you're going to have to say is, black men you're going to have to say something like, black men ain't that good, so you have to do this. And, you know, all these black women are queens, and, you know, you're a queen even though you got 5 kids by 6 different dudes, or even though you a crackhead, you still a queen, you know, you're, you know, better than everybody else. He was like, you know, and they offered this dude a lot of money to write, you know, to fix his book to say that. But he was like, he turned it down. because it was like, I'm not gonna lie. He would rather, he said so there's a lot of, the reason I tell that story is to say that people in general, they want to hear what they want to hear. People don't want to hear the truth. I mean, I
don't know, and maybe it's the flower child in me, because I agree with you, but I think we all blessed with certain things, and I've always been able. I think some of the vehicles that like people like, I'm a very avid user of sarcasm. I can say I've always had a skill of saying what I wanted to say and still being able to maintain a conversation with whoever I want to maintain a conversation with. In English, if I want to talk over somebody's head, I can. So I can say what I want to say in a language that they'll understand. And I've always, you can call it a skill. To me, it's just something, a habit. Like, I know how to do it.
Yeah.
But I think, to really affect change, you kind of gotta master that. For me to sleep well at night, I need to say something that I feel like is of substance, but I need to, as I've gotten older, I understand what you're saying more, when 5 or 10 years ago, I would have been like, man, I'm saying what I want to say. I understand you more now than I ever did, as far like, this is a business and things got to go a certain way. But this is my job. Like you say, most people don't want to do the work that comes with what it is they do. Like, I'll readily take that challenge today, where 5 years ago I might have just said, like, you know what, I'm cool with my job. I don't even want to give it a second thought. So I'm comfortable with that challenge of, like, I'm going to say what I want to say, but I understand what you're coming from, and if I want to be successful, you do got to give. But if I work hard enough, I can say what I want to say and have them get it at the same time. Put it in the language they understand, but I do think it comes down to language.
Yeah. Dude, I think you could do anything. I love what you're trying to do, and I think you could definitely do it. I think maybe if you spin it in a way, you say in a way to make you say something like, the reason that I may have to say some harsh things to you, some things that are like maybe a little bit mentally stimulating and challenging, but the reason that I'm not going to dumb it down, I'm not going to sugarcoat a lot of stuff, is that because of this principle exactly, because of, people want to hear this, but people want to hear X, but I'm going to give you Y, because I want to give you facts. I want to give you the truth,
See, I don't know. To me, like, I've been at my most successful as far as, like, creating an impact in the room when I'm speaking, when, like, there's able to be passion in what I'm saying. If I'm regurgitating something, there's never any passion. But if I'm able to, I never write my speeches. I write like a outline for myself. Yeah, and then I'm able to go. If I'm able, basically what I'm saying, when I talk how I want to talk, I get my best results. So the line, in light of what you just said, the line is to, like, make sure I educate myself enough to where I'm able to say what I want to say, and it come out to me in a way that they understand. I also think it's something to be said in the fact that, like, I still, even after this conversation, I'm more thoroughly convinced that it's way more to you than what it is you're trying to do. And I think you're being humble. I think you're being modest.
Yeah, I agree. Not to be stuck up, but yeah, I think it's a lot more to me. But I don't know. Like, I think I'm limited by circumstances and stuff.
I think we just talked about, like, the only thing that can limit you is you. I think that's if we had to sum it all up. That's what it is. You're gonna get tired of talking to me, because every time I see you, I'll be like, man, you got a lot going. You should be doing that. You literally give me that impression, like, all right, you need to be running something, doing something, or even just having the same conversation we just had.
Right. Dude, I actually might, I don't know if you run a blog or something, I might, like, start up something, like, where I'm just giving financial advice. But I know, like, just me being me, it'll probably be, like, a lot of self-improvement stuff in there. I may look into that. I don't know. Is that what you got a website or something?
I got a website, but I'm about to, when I first started, like, not doing it the traditional route, like, my first thing, like, exactly what we talked about, I wanted to copy what I saw other speakers doing. As I get more comfortable, I don't want to do that. Like, I got a website, but I'm about to turn it into a blog. I don't really care. It's certain things I don't care for anymore.
Yeah.
Like, the psychology of a good nigga. That came from like going to places, speaking, and just feeling like I talk about goal actualization. I really believe in it, but the way that I deliver that, when I first started, it was perfect because it let me sleep at night knowing that I was doing what other people were doing, but like it don't do it for me now.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm more comfortable in my own voice now than I was when I first started. So it's websites I turn into blogs. My speeches I turn it into oral art. That's what I call it now.
Yeah.
You know, so you get a chance to evolve.
Right.
So, but I think everybody at the heart of them, there's some in them that say that, like even you want to get into finance, but I think like the conversation we just had is like a person-to-person thing. It's not like it ain't got to be a call and it ain't got to be this, that, or the other, but it's something that you have.
Yeah.
It's an outlook that I think other people would benefit from.
Let's see. All right, man. I'm gonna see when the bus I may come back.
Well, I'm about to head out too. You going back that way again? I'm about to
Yeah.
go back down the road.
Okay. You got anything coming up?
Then I got like some between now and the next meeting. I got like some radio interviews.
Oh, okay.
I'm out. I do. I don't know if you can make it. Might be good for your networking side. It don't cost nothing to sub lunch. Public Speakers Association. And don't be scared off by the title. It's usually just a lot of people that have never spoken in their life and they just want to like network. I'm gonna be the featured speaker there next Wednesday. So I'm gonna talk about starting at the finish line. That's the title of my speech, which we would have talked about today. And it's kind of just about, kind of like what we just talked about. Like, all right, I'm gonna use like writing my book as an example. When I wrote my book, I wrote it about urban relationships because I didn't know nothing else. But I pretty much just like got started with it, and I kind of figured out stuff as I went along the way. But I started with the physiology of it as opposed to like, okay, if I want to write a book, I need to do this, I need to do that. I just start writing.
Yeah.
So it's called Starting at the Finish Line, but it might be good for you, like I say, like if you went to like the networking thing.
What time is it?
12 o'clock. It's at Reason. I'll send you some information.
Yeah.
Send you some information, but like I said, it don't cost nothing, but it's a buffet. It's during lunch, so if you come, you just got to buy yourself some lunch, something to eat. But I'll send you info on it, man. But you
All right, man.
All right.